Hey there, how are you tonight? Wednesday evening, hope you're enjoying the beautiful sunshine. I am Connie Fuksa with Foot Title Group, where we know how overwhelming the home buying process can be, and it is our passion to make that process as simple as possible for you by keeping you in the loop, giving you all the information that's possible to make sure that you understand everything that's going on, and particularly to ensure that you and your home are protected when you walk away from the closing table with those keys. First, let me say, hey, if you're checking in, if you're watching tonight, please check in with me so I know who's out there watching, and also so we can talk about any questions you might have. Hey there, Mike, how are you? Good to hear from you and see you on tonight. And please ask me any questions that you have as well, because you are at that age where you might be looking at new homes, or people that you are friends with might be looking for new homes, and I might be able to help them with some information. So hopefully I can help you out. Hey, you too. So tonight, I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about some things that can affect the ownership when you buy a new home. You know, we talk about title insurance, which is kind of confusing, and we talk about some of the crazy things that can actually happen. And people always say to me, wow, is that real stuff that can really happen to me? Well, here's some things that we look at. You know, like I told you, we're a title company, or we do home closings, and that makes it a whole lot easier to understand. But a lot of people don't know that they have to choose, or they can choose, who does their home closing. Well, why does it matter? Because we've been doing this for 30 years, and one of the things that we've learned is that we can see a lot of things in the ownership chain, or things that are happening through the process. Hey there, Kimberly, how are you? Hope you're having a great evening. We can see things through the process that maybe others can't, that could affect that ownership. So, oh my gosh, what happens if while we're going through the process of pulling all the pieces together, maybe the buyer decides that they don't want to purchase the property, they want to assign it to somebody else. Hey Michelle, how are you, girl? They want to assign that contract to somebody else, meaning they want to give their right to buy that home to somebody else. Well, everybody has to be involved in that process. And let's say maybe they want to give it to someone else who's going to buy it in a company's name. Well, all of a sudden that throws some different pieces into the puzzle. So that's where we amp up and say, okay, now we need a lot of different things. We need some information from this company. We need to make sure this company is a valid company. We need to make sure that the company has the right to buy or sell property. We need to make sure that they're a actively certified company in the state that they're licensed to do business in. We need to make sure that the owners that have the right to sell actually have all the pieces of the puzzle together, because if not, and they're selling something and you're buying it, it could be a huge problem, because you may be buying something that, even though the right company sold it, maybe the person who actually has the right to sell for that company didn't sign the documents. So that's another piece that a good closing company actually brings to the table, because they're used to having their radar out, looking for all of those pieces and things that may arise. You know, another really great example is if you have somebody selling a piece of property and it's a husband and wife, and they come to the table, and we always ask for IDs. But what if we ask for an ID and the ID doesn't look like it's supposed to, or maybe somebody doesn't have an ID? Well, some companies may use some other form of ID. We only will take government issued picture IDs, so I can verify, because I have some documentation, so I can verify that an ID that somebody presents is, as best as I can tell, a valid form of that government issued picture ID. So what if you take somebody's ID and they're not who they say they are? What happens if, you know, it's supposed to be a husband and wife, and the wife's coming to the table and the husband isn't really the person that's sitting there, the husband's actually somewhere else, and she's trying to sell the property while he's out of town. So, you know, these are some things that a good closing company who has experiences has this radar, and they can actually see some of these things coming down the road. So it's not just this title that we search, it's also some of the processes that happen along the way. We actually had a little bit of confusion on a deal we're trying to work on, that somebody decided to create a document. Hey Billy, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you, and I appreciate you checking in and seeing what we're talking about. We actually had some people that were dealing with a licensed realtor, and the realtor had prepared the contract, and one of the parties involved decided they wanted to change some terms of the contract and decided to type up in an own Word document, they wanted to type up their own addendum to make some changes and didn't include the realtor. Well, of course, we have a little bit of a problem with that. Why? Because the realtor's not involved, and that's the professional that is making sure things are taken care of like they're supposed to be to protect everyone. Hey, Cecilia, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. The other thing is that not only is that professional involved and they are making sure that all the pieces are pulled together, but they are also making sure we have the right wording, the right documents involved, and that everyone is protected. So if you go out and create your own documents and then are presenting them to us, we actually use the real estate contract to direct us on how the closing is supposed to happen and what everybody's agreed to. So if not everybody that's involved in the closing is involved in these agreements, then there may be some information that's missing, and so of course then our radar goes up a little bit as well. So there's a whole lot of things that a good closing company brings to the table for you and that you need to be asking questions about, because when I say good, I mean someone that's experienced in seeing some of these crazy things, or maybe not even crazy, maybe just things that send up red flags, maybe pink flags, maybe a little bit off-white flags, but they send up flags that maybe cause us to ask questions to make sure that when the end product happens and you as the purchaser get your keys, that you actually get the keys to something that you'll never have to deal with a problem. And it is our job and our passion, I'm very specific about these things, that we like to make sure that you don't have problems. And if you do, it's certainly something that we could never have seen. We have a lot of experience by working out through some of these things, and these are some crazy things that come up. I mean, you'd be surprised what kind of things that people can create on a computer anymore. Checks and financial institution issues are a huge problem right now. We had a weird situation with a check, and we don't, for most cases, even take checks at the closing anymore. And the reason is because checks can be forged very easily, and so we can actually, when we do the closing, we take in those funds and then we pay out all the money to everybody. And when we do that, we're doing that based on the fact that those funds are good. And so what we found is a lot of times with checks, they are very easily recreated on the computer, and unfortunately it causes us a problem, but potentially causes the seller a problem when we pay out those funds at closing, or soon thereafter at closing. In Virginia, it's not right at the table, but when we pay out those funds, that maybe the funds that we were able to take in that cover those costs weren't good funds, and something happened. So there's a lot of pieces that go into the closing side of it that are behind the scenes that you don't necessarily always have to know, but you have to know that the company that you work with has some legs and some really good radar and sees a lot of this stuff coming, because that way you don't have to worry about something happening after closing. You get those keys at closing and you are happily living there ever after, and potentially that couldn't happen. So somebody could come up to the house and say they have an ownership interest in, then you've got to deal with that. So just some experiences we've had over the past couple weeks that maybe I wanted to share with you, how some of that would go into effect and affect you as a purchaser or a seller for that matter on a piece of property, and how you would actually whether or not you'd even know about it, or if it's brought to your attention through the process, why the closing company may be doing that. So hopefully I gave you a little bit of information tonight. I really appreciate so many of you checking in tonight. And please, please, please send me information on things that you don't understand about the home closing, about real estate, about mortgages. As you can see, some of the people that are on with us tonight are some awesome real estate professionals that we work with, other people in the industry, home insurance individuals. And so I have a lot of resources and people that we work with. So I don't know all the answers, and I certainly don't presume to give you that information on things I don't know about, but I have some great professionals that we've been working with for a long time that I'd love to share your questions with them to make sure we get you the best answers and information. So share the video if you think that's warranted. I would really appreciate it. There may be some people out there that need the information that we're sharing, and you may not even know it. So if you'd share it, that'd be great. And then if you have questions, please reach out to me. Again, I'm Connie Fuksa with Foot Title Group, where we know how overwhelming the home closing process can be, and it is our passion to make sure that that's simple for you and that we are approachable so you can ask any questions that you have. Our website's full of information to help you, Homebuyers Guide, Homesellers Guides, sample documents that you may sign at closing, recording costs, links, all kinds of links and information. Our team members are all listed on there, so you can reach out to any of them in Maryland or Virginia. If you're not doing a closing in one of those two states, I have some great connections with colleagues all across the United States, so please feel free to ask or reach out for any of that. And if you have any questions, I'm always available to you. Our website's www.foottitlegroup.com, and I'm Connie Fuksa, and I'm always here to help you. So happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for all of you guys tuning in. I love to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time tonight. And Cecilia, thank you. I appreciate you saying you love the videos. I love doing them and helping you guys out. So let me know if there's anything I can get for you or any information I can share. And you guys have a great Wednesday. Thanks so much.